Most of us tend to avoid suffering like the plague. As Christians, we could use different language and say we tend to avoid cross-carrying like the plague. We tend to translate things like suffering and difficulty and cross-carrying as signs that God has distanced himself from us. Man, like Jesus has kind of cropped himself out of the picture. The ironic thing, though, is that the symbol of Christianity is actually the cross. And what is the cross? Well, this is kind of lost on us in our day and age where we have beautifully colored Hallmark greeting cards and we have these bedazzled crosses and you have maybe one on your wall with like a few diamonds on it or something like that. But you got to think back to the time of the Romans, and what the cross represented was the greatest shame imaginable. The cross was crucifixion. It meant suffering. It meant death. If you knew someone who was crucified, man, you would do anything but tell people about that. The cross was to be hidden and not to be displayed. So as much as we can, we tend to craft these lives free of suffering. We try to build a sort of hedge around us to keep suffering at bay as much as possible and to maximize comfort and minimize pain. What we are reminded of as we near Good Friday is that the cross is a necessary part of our faith. In other words, a crossless existence is a Christless existence. We can't get Jesus without the cross. But the good news is that right here at the cross, we have this assurance that God has not distanced himself. No, God has not cropped himself out of the picture or is less involved here than he was at other places or other times. No, in fact, just the opposite. It's at the cross that God is most near to us. And it's here as he suffers and as he dies that he actually makes peace between himself and the entire world, atoning for our sins and taking our place. So in light of this, the cross becomes something for us to actually embrace. And I really don't think anything says that better than that wonderful hymn, The Old Rugged Cross. I will cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. There is no Easter without Good Friday. There is no life without suffering and death. And so all of life is a Good Friday as we wait for the fulfillment of God's promises. But we can take heart because as the Apostle Paul says, I have been crucified with Christ, and it is no longer I who lives, but Christ in me. Suffering becomes the hammer that God uses to forge and shape us into the very image of his Son. Believe this and trust this and know that as you approach Good Friday, Jesus is already approaching you.